Hello everyone, and welcome to my April wrap-up. I have no idea how it happened, but I ended up reading 16 books in the month of April, and I did not want to have to film that long of a wrap-up, so I split it up and I did a mid-April wrap-up earlier this month, and now I'm just gonna finish out with the last books that I read the last 2 weeks of April. So I read 5 more books since my last wrap-up video, but I'm actually going to talk about 6 today. I'm going to make the last one that I finished an honorary mention for April because I read like 95-ish% of it in April, and I finished the last like 20 pages on May 1st. So that one's going to be in this video as well, but without further ado, let's get started. So I ended up finishing Dark Roads by Shady Stevens. I read this for Jacqueline Wheeler's Patreon April Buddy Read, and I will not lie to you guys, I have filmed this clip a million times over because I do not know how to describe this book to you guys. I think it's because it was not at all what it was marketed as. So I'm just gonna give my thoughts to y'all about what I did not like about the book, and you guys can go and look on Goodreads if you are interested in the actual plot of the book. But what I can tell you is that it follows a few different women surrounding a highway where some women over the years have gone missing, and those cases have never been solved. And so the book opens following a girl named Haley who has just lost her father, and she moves in with her uncle who she ends up finding some pretty disturbing secrets about, and she sets off on her own. Now, the reason why I say that this book wasn't at all what it was marketed as is because Shady Stevens claimed that this book was supposed to be a fictional account that was going to bring awareness to the actual Highway of Tears, and this book was not that at all, in my opinion. She only really mentions the highway a few times. It also was marketed as a suspense survivalist novel, and I didn't really get the suspense out of it, and the survivalist aspect of it was really unrealistic to me. It also was supposed to be adult. I would venture to say it is much more young adult. The dialogue and the perspectives of the main characters were extremely YA, which is fine. It's just not what I was going into it expecting it to be. So I think that she did not do her original intent justice, and I don't think that there was really any awareness brought on by this book. So for that reason alone, plus the other things that I said, I only gave this book 2 stars. And it's tough for me because this was my first Shady Stevens book, and I don't want to write off her writing completely because I do know that she is a pretty popular author and a lot of people enjoy her writing, but this one was such a fail for me that I'm kind of scared to pick up books of hers in the future. So if you're a Shady Stevens fan and you've read some books of hers that were hits, let me know in the comments below because I might have to pick something up in the future just to see if she can redeem herself with me. Okay, moving on. Now that that book is out of the way, the next book that I read this month was A Curse So Dark and Lonely by Bridget Kemmerer. This book is a Beauty and the Beast retelling that follows our main protagonist, Harper, who is walking the streets of Washington, D.C. one day when she is captured by a man and taken to the fantastical world of Emberfall. And while she's there, she meets Prince Wren along with many other citizens of Emberfall, and she tries to make her way back home because she does not want to be there and she doesn't know why she's there. But along the way, she learns of a monster and a curse that she apparently takes a huge role in breaking this curse. This book was so much fun to read. It made me fall in love with fairy tale retelling, so if you have suggestions for those, be sure to leave those for me in the comments. But Harper's character is super feisty, and I love a feisty heroine. The world building was not overwhelming, so if you're kind of new to fantasy, I think this would be a really, really good starting point. In fact, I feel feel like maybe fairy tale retellings in general would be a really good starting point if you're looking to maybe step into fantasy, because we're mostly familiar with the overall story anyways. So I definitely think that this would be a good starting point for you. The only complaint that I had about this book was that the ending did fall a little bit flat. I did not necessarily like literally maybe the last 2 pages. It was the very ending that kind of just fell flat for me. But other than that, it was a fantastic ride, and I hope to pick up the second one in the series sometime in the future, because the epilogue did pique my interest. So we will see. Next up in April, I finished The Ocean at the End of the Lane by Neil Gaiman. This was my first Neil Gaiman read, and it did not disappoint. This book follows a man who comes back to his childhood home to attend a funeral, where he ends up finding himself at the end of the lane that he grew up on, reminiscing about a really fantastical girl that he met at the house at the end of the lane. And he and she embarked on all kinds of amazing, crazy, mind-blowing adventures, and this book is really just him recalling and reminiscing about all of those stories. The writing in this book is insane. Neil Gaiman is definitely one of the best writers that I've read. The way that he describes things is very middle grade, and I love an adult writer that writes in a very middle grade way. And the story is just really beautiful. I think that it's one of those stories that can be interpreted a lot of different ways, which I think is really difficult for writers to do. This book did not grab me from the beginning like I think it did a lot of people, so my rating suffered a little bit for that, but other than that, I absolutely adored this book. I cannot wait to pick up more Neil Gaiman in the future. I need to sneeze. Oh man. I guess it's not happening. Okay, if you follow me on Instagram, you already know how much I love this book because I can't stop gushing about it. But the next book I finished this month is Shady Hollow, a murder mystery by Juno Black. This book is a cozy mystery that follows a cast of woodland characters that are all citizens of Shady Hollow. And our main protagonist, Vera Vixen, is a fox, and she is the news reporter for the local newspaper. And she is not too impressed with the local police skills happening surrounding the investigation of the death of one of the members of Shady Hollow. And so she sets out to find the real story and to nab the killer. And this is so much fun. If you're a cozy mystery reader and you like a little bit of whimsy, I can't recommend this one enough. It is the perfect marriage of adult cozy mystery while still having all of those whimsical middle grade vibes. And the characters are super quirky, which is an absolute must for my cozy mysteries. And the mystery was actually really well done, I felt like. It had me guessing up until the very end, and I actually did not guess who did it. So, not that that is necessarily breaking news, because I'm not always the best at guessing who done it in mysteries, but the mystery was really well done. So if you're a cozy mystery fan, you've got to pick it up. Okay, so the last book that I technically finished in April was A Court of Wings and Ruin. This book needs no introduction, I am sure, but this is the third book in the A Court of Thorns and Roses series by Sarah J. Maas, and it was a great time. I'm not going to say anything other than resand. I mean, I genuinely think he might be my new favorite book boyfriend. So, you know, there's that. Move over, Joshua Templeman. You know what I mean? But I absolutely adored it. I cannot wait to pick up the next one. I know the next one is Frost and Starlight, if I'm right, and it's the smaller one. I have it, so I'm definitely hopefully gonna get to it in May, but then I actually think I'm gonna hold off on the most recent one that I can't remember the name of right now. I'm gonna hold off on that one for a couple of reasons, because it is not out in paperback yet and all of mine are paperback and I really just want to have matching books. And then second of all, I feel like I do a little bit better with fantasy series if I can give a little bit of break in between the books to kind of, you know, clear the slate. And I don't know why, but it's my thing. And so I am gonna wait a minute until I pick up the next one, but this was just, I loved it. Okay, sorry if you moved a little bit and you're shifted. I had to take a break for a second and do something really quick. So the last book that I didn't really finish in April, but mostly finished in April, is Meet Me in the Margins by Melissa Ferguson. This is a romance that follows our main character, Savannah, who works in Pennington Publishing. And Pennington Publishing is known for strictly nonfiction and literary fiction. So they think that anything that's not those two categories is rubbish. And so she is really embarrassed and really caught off guard when she accidentally trips in a business meeting and her own romance manuscript goes flying everywhere. And the son of the owner of the publishing company, who has just been brought on board as one of its editors, helps her pick up the papers and he realizes it's a romance. So she ends up going to this hidden secret ARC room where she leaves her manuscript, and when she comes back to get it, there are edits written in the margins. So she doesn't know who's writing the edits, but she starts taking the editor's advice and they start conversing through the margins of her manuscript, always in this ARC room. And I won't spoil it for you, but you probably know who the editor is. So this is actually one of my favorite kind of premises, or I guess maybe it would be called a trope, but this setting in any kind of bookish world, so publishing, library, bookstore, I absolutely love that premise. So this book already had a lot going for it going in, but it did fall a little flat for me. It was fine. It was a fun read. I enjoyed it, but it wasn't anything to write home about. And there was one thing in particular that was in the book that I really did not like. It was a storyline concerning her sister, and it just didn't hit right, but it was fine. It was good, you know. I will say this is a clean romance. So for those of you who steer more towards clean romances, this definitely passes that bar. So there's that, and I don't really think I have anything else to say about it. It was fine. Okay, friends, well, that is all the books that I read in the last half of April. If you want to know what I read in the first half of April, be sure to go and watch my mid-April wrap-up. But other than that, I'm so glad you spent a little bit of your day with me. If you are still watching this video at the end, be sure to leave me the little writing emoji, handwriting emoji for Meet Me in the Margins. If you are new here, be sure to subscribe and like, and I cannot wait to see you in the next one. I hope everybody will choose coziness over chaos this next month, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.